Normally, when I get sent a review code for a game, it comes in a simple email, so imagine my surprise when a big white box was delivered to my door, with the only print on it being the Judgment logo. What was I in for, and how is the game so far? Let's find out. For those of you out of the loop, Judgment is the latest game from the developers behind the Yakuza series. Unlike the Yakuza series though, you don't play as a member of the Japanese mafia on the iffy side of the law, you play as a lawyer turned private detective, mostly on the right side of the law. There are a ton of new gameplay elements in Judgment that weren't part of the Yakuza series, so even though it takes place in the very familiar Kamurocho, it manages to feel fresher than ever. It's almost like a cross between Yakuza and Ace Attorney, or even Danganronpa. You'll need to collect evidence, piece events together, tail suspects, and even pick locks. Which brings me back to that big box delivered to my door. Opening it up revealed a little paper pouch which contained a set of lock-picking tools and a handy instructional sheet. There were a set of keys here too, but they were labelled only for emergency use, so I saw where this was going. The bulk of the box was yet another box, this time wooden and locked shut with a transparent padlock. If I wanted to get my hands on that review code, I was going to have to pick the lock, or cheat with the keys, but I was determined to break my way in. I already knew the basics of picking a lock, but I'd never actually tried to do it before. It took me just over 6 minutes to get inside the box, which proves conclusively that I'm much better at picking locks in the game than I am in real life. Picking the lock was only step 1 though, as the contents of the box was a private detective starter kit. It included a pair of binoculars, an LED torch, a pen with an ultraviolet light on one end, and the complete idiot's guide to private investigating. A note from the director said that my code was somewhere inside the box, and a second piece of nearly blank paper was the clue. I'll be honest, the second I saw the ultraviolet light on the pen, I knew where the code was going to be. It's hidden on this piece of paper and can be revealed by shining the ultraviolet light on it. The camera doesn't pick it up very well, but it's very visible in real life. Even though the second part of this puzzle was very obvious to me, it's still hands down the most creative way I've been sent a code. The transparent lock is also really cool, especially if you want to learn how to pick locks. After getting my code, I obviously jumped straight into the game. I've recently hit chapter 3, and while I'm really enjoying my time with it, it hasn't yet reached the heights of any of the Yakuza games I've played so far. The new elements and the new dynamic definitely make the game feel different to Yakuza, but I'm not entirely sure if that's a good thing just yet. Tailing people isn't exactly the most fun and engaging gameplay mechanic, but thankfully I haven't had to do that a whole lot so far. It does sort of set the tone for the game though. All Yakuza games have fairly slow starts, as does Judgment, and even though things pick up pretty quickly in the second chapter, the game overall still feels a lot slower and more methodical than Yakuza. Most of what makes Yakuza so good though is still here in Judgment. There are tons of minigames and gameplay tangents that could be considered their own games. In fact, some of them are, as you can play full versions of select Sega arcade games at an in-game arcade. New additions like drone racing are also quite extensive and a hell of a lot of fun. The zany side quests return but aren't delivered exactly like they are in the Yakuza series. In Judgment you have a combination of side cases and friend events, the former of which will see you doing things like tracking down a panty thief, and the latter might involve helping a cafe worker with her English. The reason I've only just begun chapter 3 is because I was pretty obsessively doing everything I could in chapter 2. I maxed out a ton of friend levels and done a ton of side cases. It's just really quite fun to do and never feels like mindless grinding. The side content in Judgment follows the Yakuza tradition of being unique, well written, and just all round fun. So while I may not be in love with Judgment as much as I am with Yakuza just yet, I'm still having a blast. Keep an eye out for my review later in the week, and let me know in the comments if there's anything you want to know before the review, and I'll do my best to answer your questions.